to a finance report from CJ Mashad.
Okay, yeah, we had a great similar discussion and overview of a lot of the bond construction happening. Central High School is the one up to the plate right now, out to bid. Right now those are due early December, so we anticipate we'll be able to see recommendations in front of us in January to approve some of that work. And then really looking forward, all the other projects are kind of steady on, like we've talked about before, no major updates or changes. Ada Elementary, Meadowbrook, and Northern High School are all in their kickoff phases as we look ahead now and into the spring. They'll be just starting the work that will happen there. We reviewed the monthly financial statements that were in the packet. Nothing, again, really of note, but we're 33% of the way through the fiscal year and 23% of the way through the school year. So it takes us to our action items. 3 of them are Ada Vista related, which is a theme that we will hopefully very soon be done with. Asbestos is a recurring theme as well. This was back in March. Asbestos was found as it has as we've been going into the walls and then having to do the renovations there. We approved initial dollars that we thought were necessary to abate all of that, and there was more to be found than they originally thought. So $51,460 were spent previously at the time as an emergency use case when they found it, so they got it all, and we're approving that now, retrospect. That came out of 2023 capital projects. The second project at Ada Vista is an additional ask to the original ask from, I think, November 2022 to just complete the rest of the project. We know it has encountered a number of roadblocks, water service lines, lack of foundations in places, mechanical, structural, those things. We saw the OAK review letter and recommendation there. So the ask is for an additional $248,022 to wrap up that project once and for all, again out of 2023 capital projects here. And then the final Ada Vista ask is for media center shelving in the new media center, of course. Tower Pinkster worked with them to figure out what they need. Omnia Purchasing Co-op, like we do, and the shelving will be coming from Duell Corporation for an amount not to exceed $35,100, also 2023 capital projects. Next, the recommendation to purchase some bus cameras. The ask is for 25 stop arm cameras and 55 entrance exit cameras to equip our fleet of buses, or the ones who need it. The buses we bought, I think, in the last couple of years come now standard with a lot of these things. This is to equip the other buses that still have a lot of use left, but don't have these safety measures on them. So that's 25 buses that need the stop arm cameras. And then most of them, we have 63 buses, 55 of them do not have the entrance exit camera as well. So this will come from Sourcewell Purchasing Co-op, or we went through the Sourcewell Purchasing Co-op for an amount not to exceed $52,800 from the general fund. The next 2 items are not costs, but things for us to approve. The first is the salary schedules for the superintendent and assistant superintendents. I think we all were able to review that and the rationale for that. Litigation in Michigan, we just need to have all that in place. Of course, all those positions have contracts, but not official salary schedules on the books, so this will formalize those and make sure that they are on file along with all of our other employee groups and employees. And the second is to adopt a resolution to join a class action insulin lawsuit. We had this overviewed for us. We may have heard of this before. There's a nationwide lawsuit happening for insulin manufacturers, PBMs, people for the last years that have potentially inflated the cost of insulin. We as a district are able to join this suit as somebody with a medical benefits plan that presumably paid, obviously, for insulin over the years. It costs nothing for us to join, and it just means if there's a settlement, if there's something, awards or monies awarded from that we would be eligible to have a piece of that. So we have a resolution that you saw in the packet that we can adopt to join that lawsuit. The next item is an annual item, the annual resolution to collect 50% of our local taxes in the summer. We have the option to collect 50 or 100%, or I could collect it at one time during the year in December or split that over 2. We have split that over 2 in all of the areas that we're able to since 1986, so we do this obviously very routinely. 2 exceptions to that are the city of Grand Rapids and Cannon Township, the small slices that Forest Hills has in those townships. or taxing municipalities. But this obviously spreads our overall tax cost to taxpayers out over 2 payments instead of 1, and it also helps us finance things over the summer while we're waiting for state aid payments to come in October, which is when they begin. So again, this is just a resolution that you saw, something we do every year to allow us to do that. And the final piece was just property tax reimbursement. Just one to Kent County, $40,403.83. Any questions?
Oh, that sounds very good. Thank you very much, CJ. All right, so any further, did anybody come up with any questions or have any discussion on either of these, any of the items? Okay, let's move ahead with the roll call vote then, please.
All right, Dr. Mashad?
Yes.
Mrs. Niemeyer?
Yes.
Mrs. DeBoer?
Yes.
Mrs. Funk?
Yes.
Ms. Koval?
Yes.
Dr. Boston?
Yes.
Mrs. Tryon, yes.
All right, thank you. Up next on the agenda is the School Superintendents Association National Conference is being held in March of next year, and Superintendent Kirby would like to attend that to collaborate with other superintendents and work to shape initiatives, hopefully proactively, that might be of use for our school district for both students and staff alike. I think it's wonderful that he is seeking out these types of opportunities, and we need to have a board approval so that he can attend this conference. So could I please have a motion to approve Superintendent Kirby's attendance at the 2025 AASA conference?
I move that we approve Superintendent Kirby's attendance at the AASA National Conference. Second.
All right, any discussion or questions about the conference? Okay, then can we just do a voice vote on this one, please? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Next on the list is the emergency operations plan. The district has updated its emergency operations plan. This was an enormous effort led by Superintendent and Ryan Kimball, our Director of School Safety and Security. They also worked together with local law enforcement and our safety personnel to put together a very comprehensive plan. I think all of us have had a chance to review it, and thank you to everybody who was involved in putting this together, because I know it's a monumental effort, but it's going to be great that we have a playbook that the entire district uses with same procedures and same language that is used from building to building to facility to facility. So could I please have a motion to approve the FHPS Emergency Operations Plan?
I move we approve the FHPS Emergency Operations Plan.
Second. All right, is there any questions or discussions about this one? All right, again, we could do a voice vote on this one. All in favor of approving the FHPS Emergency Operations Plan, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. We are then moving on to our superintendent's report.
All right, thank you. Just special thanks to Ryan Kimball for the EOPs and our administrative team as they've gone through and worked with that. Ryan has had a humongous lift in his responsibilities in doing that, and they really put together something very good that we all can follow, and I do appreciate their work. A lot happening in education. Of course, the legislature is the piece that we wonder about over the next month and a half with the potential of lame duck. The biggest things we're looking at is they have one day scheduled in November. They take off a significant amount of time for deer hunting, which we might want to think about that as a school district, but just kidding. But they do take off a significant amount of time, and then they have 8 days scheduled in the month of December. But the lame duck with the Republicans basically winning enough seats in the House that it does look like there's going to be, the trifecta is going to be gone, so to speak. So there is some concerns around some of the action that might take place, which would potentially cost the district some finances and so on. So we really want to be wise in recognizing what happens. We'll certainly give out alerts if there's things that we need to act on, but some of the pieces that are most impactful potentially for schools is the PA 152 potential increase. That's the health insurance and the hard cap. There's talk of that increasing by up to 7%, which would be a significant amount across the district. But that's just one iteration. There's 3 or 4 out there, and so again, that could really cost the district a lot. So we just have to really make sure we pay attention to those types of things. And then there's also some talk around the Michigan Merit Curriculum, pros and cons to this. There is discussion about removing the course names. Right now in the Michigan Merit Curriculum is very specific on course names and the content of those courses. So the focus would shift on the content of the courses and not necessarily the course names, which would in essence provide flexibility for scheduling for students. So there's some real potential benefits there. There's also a lot of discussion around firearm storage. The role of a school district at this point, has not been dictated, but there's discussion around who's going to create these flyers, and then the school district obligation to actually have those sent to all families and so on. So there's a lot of discussion around that. That's been a discussion over the last few years with the trifecta, certainly. And then the last is some discussion around 12th graders having to have their vaccinations updated by the time they graduate. That one's new, but certainly there's the waiver and all of that. But CDC having a schedule and just making sure all kids when they graduate. I don't really know where that's coming from, but that is one that has been talked about a little bit. So those are the big pieces, and we'll just continue to keep in touch if there's action alerts and those kinds of things. These are the things that get a little scary because they happen in the wee hours of the morning, and people finally get the votes they need, and it's ramifications for decades at times. So one of the caveats that's happening is that there's some real dissension among one of the parties, and they're not having enough people there to vote to pass. So we'll see how that all comes about. The Democrats, have the majority, but they haven't had enough to actually vote things on. So that would make lame duck very smooth, which would be beneficial probably. It was mentioned the junior kindergarten. We're continuing to plan. That's something we are doing a school visit this week. There's a group working very hard on that. We'll be getting more and more information. That's a huge team effort. We want to make sure what we roll out is something that the district can be proud of and our students can excel right from the start of this junior kindergarten program. So we're real excited about that. Special thanks to the foundation. They had their gala, and it was a fantastic evening, and was able to participate in that. And they did fundraise quite a bit, which goes back into our schools, which I really appreciate. Just at this time of year, I just remind people to, and all of you as well if you want, but to get updated in the school messenger system for sign-ups for any cancellations and those urgent notices that happen in the middle of the night or early morning hours around school and inclement weather. I had a great start to my day today. I was at Frederick Meyer Garden, not to see the beauty, but we had a Listen, Learn, and Lead event, which is all of Kent ISD high school students. So there's representatives from many of the high schools across our county, and we had 2 students. Allison Durkin, and she actually was a moderator at one point for a student panel, and she also sat on the panel. And then she's from Eastern, and then Jake Barnes was a representative from the Central side, and he was a panelist talking as well. So it was they represented very well. We should be very proud of them. Had an opportunity to meet Mrs. Barnes, and congratulated her and told her how proud she should be, and she certainly was. So one of the things that was really important to hear, so it was 300 to 500 of us in that room, and a lot of adults that work in schools, but also community members that make this all happen. But they really talked about what their 4 major things that were on their heart and mind, and it really resonated with me, especially with the work that we're doing in the district, have been doing, and will continue to be doing, and will start doing. But the number 1 topic on their hearts and minds was school safety, and they talked about those things, and they talked about how they would feel safe and the things that make a difference. And happy to say that many of them, pointed to their school resource officers. And the bottom line in all of these 4 that I'm going to mention was about relationships and building relationships and having adult relationships. And so that was really important to hear that as well. Student engagement was another area. Student engagement meaning them really being active, engaged while in the classroom with their teachers, what it is that gets them engaged, not bored. On the flip side of that, so they talked about some of those things, and again, got back to relationships in the classroom. And then mental health was something that was really big for them as well. They talked about, again, the relationships they have with the adults in the building and just having, somebody to talk to around personal items and issues, just being really important to supporting them. And then there was discussion around really making resources available for them so that there was not shame in asking for help. So that was really powerful to hear our students talk about that, or all the students talk about that. And then lastly, belongingness was another. And again, you talk about, they talk all about relationships, but not just about being included, but being belongingness being different in the respect that they not only were with a group of people, but they felt like they belonged there and they had a common feeling. They talked about their needs for teams, and then it was just fantastic. Allison Durkin basically did a Hawk Teams commercial, talking about the impact that the Hawk Teams has for her and her students and the benefits of that. So again, they represented the district very well. I wanted to make sure to mention that, but I think it's really important to know that all of the students across our county had those 4 things as topics. Not a mystery to me as superintendent or those of us that work in schools, and that's where we need to focus our energies on those student needs. And I feel good about where we're at as far as addressing these things. So this time of year, it's a great time to really think about things that you're thankful for, but I just wanted to say thanks to the board for your support since I've gotten here, and to the community. They've been incredibly supportive, and I've enjoyed my time here and continue to work with our Hawks, Huskies, and Rangers, and just would encourage you to also thank people during this time of year, because I know that you guys have a lot of thanks for the work that's happening in the district. So I just encourage you to reach out to them and say the same. So that's it.